On behalf of Atima Media and Marketing, I'm so excited to kick off the 19th Annual Hospitality and Tourism Summit online. It's going to be an outstanding week, filled with conversations about the future, opportunities to learn, and connecting with friends, both old and new. We're also excited to welcome folks from around the world that are interested in visiting or producing meetings and events in Chicago. We're glad you're here. We've been fortunate to partner with Choose Chicago on this event for a number of years. There's a tradition that goes along with that partnership, and that is a panel discussion led by Choose Chicago's leaders. Today is no exception. I'm extremely excited to hear that conversation entitled Tourism and Hospitality Forward, Major Convention Outlook. It will be led by Choose Chicago CEO David Whitaker and Board Chair Glenn Eden. In addition, they've put together a high-powered panel to help us understand what the future holds for Chicago with major conventions. Let's get right into it. Please enjoy Tourism and Hospitality Forward, Major Convention Outlook.
Hello everyone, I'm Glenn Eden, Board Chair at Choose Chicago, and welcome to the 19th Annual Hospitality and Tourism Summit. Choose Chicago is once again proud to be a sponsor. I want to commend Tim O'Malley and all on the team at Atima Marketing for organizing a great week of events, all virtually this year. Today, Choose Chicago is delighted to kick off the summit as we present our fifth in a series of panel discussions, all part of our Hospitality and Tourism Forward initiative. Prior webinars and panels have focused on the strategic reopening of our attractions industry, the important role of technology in monitoring and managing attendance and traffic, new technologies and procedures impacting valet and self-parking. And just a few weeks ago, our most recent panel focusing on planning for and welcoming our employees back to our primary workspaces. Today, I am joined by Choose Chicago's President and CEO, David Whitaker, who will be moderating today's panel, focusing on the major convention outlook for 2021. Joining David will be David Causton, General Manager and Regional Vice President of McCormick Place and ASM. Also with us today, we have Choose Chicago COO, Marc Anderson. Marc also heads up Choose Chicago's convention sales team. Before I turn it over to David, a few words about McCormick Place. Unfortunately, one of the most tangible and visible local impacts of COVID-19 is the annual hosting of major conventions, trade shows, and events at McCormick Place. Perhaps more than ever, the economic impact of hosting major conventions, trade shows, and events at McCormick Place has never been more understood. Last year, a study was conducted by the Natalie P. Voorhees Center at the University of Illinois at Chicago. And here are a few key statistics about McCormick Place and the impact of conventions and shows that Choose Chicago. Let's start with jobs. Everyone here has felt the impact of COVID, and it's not surprising. Statewide, McCormick Square operations are responsible for 17,450 jobs. For every 10 jobs directly attributable to McCormick Square, an additional 5 jobs are created in the state economy. In Chicago, McCormick Square activities directly generates employment for 14,238 people. And when we take it a step further and look at the indirect impact, an estimated 15% of all hotel and motel industry sector employment in Chicago is attributed to the McCormick Place facilities and associated businesses. The impact of the campus goes beyond jobs alone. It also has a huge impact on city and state taxes. In 2018, annual campus operations generated $1.897 billion in economic impact and $151 million in state and local tax revenue. Pre-COVID, researchers estimated that McCormick Place was expected to generate more than $972 million in state and local tax revenues and result in an economic impact of more than $12.9 million between 2019 and 2023. While we've lost most of 2020 due to COVID, it is more important that McCormick Place reopens, and when it does, reopens responsibly. Here to discuss this is our panel, David Causton and Marc Anderson. So let me welcome David Whitaker, who will moderate today's discussion. David?
Thank you, Glenn. And as Glenn said, we're delighted to be a sponsor for Atima and this year's week-long summit. We mentioned the two panelists that we have, and I'm going to first start off with my friend and colleague, David Causton, General Manager and Vice President of McCormick Place ASM. David, welcome. And for those on the call today who perhaps have not gotten to know you as well as I do, tell us a little bit about your career, some of the experiences leading up to and now your career at McCormick Place.
Well, thank you, David. It's really a pleasure to be with you. I have had the honor and the privilege and really enjoyed working in this industry for now over 30 years. I mean, I started in the mid-'80s working at the Convention Center in Baltimore. Was there for 10 years before moving to Chicago as we reopened Navy Pier. So I was at the pier in the mid-'90s to around 1999, then moving here to McCormick Place, where I was the Assistant General Manager until 2004. And I've been the general manager since then, first for the authority that owns the property, and then for ASM Global, which was hired in 2011 to manage the facility day to day.
Well, that's a distinguished career, and I don't think we would have ever thought that our careers would have gotten us to where we are today. Obviously, a lot of challenges we're facing, and this is a very topical and timely conversation because, of course, as Glenn mentioned just a few moments ago, the impact of McCormick Place for our entire industry is just incredible. And it's never been noticed more and perhaps, unfortunately, never been missed more. But as we look at reopening and reopening responsibly, McCormick Place recently has announced your participation and certification with the Global Bioadvisory Council, GBAC. This is a major step. And can you tell us a little bit about GBAC and what it means for McCormick Place and for our customers?
Sure. I think the first thing it states is that the plans that we put in place, the cleaning protocols, the procedures that we've been working on for the last couple of months have been verified by a third party. And that's really good news because I believe that what people are looking for is a sense of security, a sense of safety, that when they come to visit us, when we have the ability to reopen, that they're going to feel that those standards are being met here at McCormick Place. This was a rigorous process that we went through to get the GBAC certification. There's 20 different steps that you need to go through, but if I were to look at kind of 5 areas that they looked at, one is what commitment have we made both in writing and through our organization that we're committed to doing what we need to do to keep facilities safe and clean. 2, what are our goals and objectives? Some goals that we've talked about is making sure that high-touch areas are thoroughly cleaned. The third area is what are we going to use? What are the actual reagents, the chemicals that we're going to use to do that? We have 3 strategies. One is to use Oxivir, which kills the virus on 60 seconds in contact. It's a wipe that we use. The other is Virex 256. And finally, a Kyvac cleaning system for hard surfaces like restrooms. The fourth area is what are we doing to train our staff? We've done a lot of that already, but we're continuing to show what we're doing to train the staff and that they're wearing the proper PPE to provide that service to our customers when they come back. And then finally, an ongoing commitment to continue to relook at, recommit, make changes, continue to be flexible as we learn more and more about this virus and other types of risks that we could have to make sure that we're doing everything possible to have the highest standards.
As an extension of this conversation and beyond GBAC, you've also recently developed a comprehensive new health and safety program, not just for McCormick Place, but all of your partners, including us on campus. Can you walk us through some of the highlights of this?
Sure. I think that one of the things, the public authority, the Metropolitan Pier and Exposition Authority, who we all work for, wanted to make sure that we were treating the campus holistically. So if we were looking at GBAC certification at McCormick Place, then the Hyatt Regency should look at GBAC certification in their property, and the Marriott should look at GBAC certification in their property. We talk about the customer journey, how people are going to arrive at our facility, how they're going to move around the facility, how we're going to maintain the social distancing, how the food experience is going to change, how we're going to deal with reduced capacities in our meeting rooms to maintain that social distancing. And we're doing this collaboratively between all of the business units that make up the McCormick Square campus. Actually, if you go to our website, www.mccormickplace.com, there is an executive summary of that plan that's available to anyone who's interested.
Shameless plug for the website. What's that website again?
www.mccormickplace.com. You don't even have to say www anymore. It's just mccormickplace.com.
David, what can clients and meeting planners and delegates, exhibitors, et cetera, what can they expect at McCormick Place when meetings resume again? What tools are you preparing to assist customers and partners with?
You know, again, as I mentioned, we are working with each of our customers to do their own tailored reopening plan. So that's the first thing that we're doing from a staffing perspective. The second thing, quite frankly, is a partnership that we're doing with you, David, and everyone at Choose Chicago, which is a virtual toolkit that will show what the entire experience will be like once you arrive here in Chicago, not just at McCormick Place, but when you get off the plane, when you get into an Uber or a Lyft or some other rideshare or cab, when you arrive at the hotel, how that registration experience will be. If you're traveling on a bus, for example, between the hotels and the facility, and then obviously how registration, how the meeting component, how the exhibit component will work here at the facility. So we're really excited about that partnership and what we're going to be able to show between the two of us on what a customer will see when they come back to Chicago.
Thank you, David. And as we said earlier, we also am joined by my colleague and partner, Marc Anderson. Marc, our Chief Operating Officer, also heads up our sales team. Marc, similar to David, first question, for those who don't know you as well as I do, a little bit about your career and how you got to choose Chicago.
Sure. I actually started my career in 1992.
A baby, you were a baby.
A baby. At Smith Buckland Associates, which is obviously the country's largest association management firm. And then my first stint at Choose Chicago, or the old Chicago Convention and Tourism Bureau, was in 2001. I ended up taking a break in 2007, came back in 2015, and am so proud of the work that we do for our city, for our state, for McCormick Place, obviously. Huge thank you to David Causton and Moira O'Brien with McCormick Place and Larita Clark. They're obviously our greatest partners. And then also for our hotel community and the difference that we make for everyone.
I know you and your team, Julie, Dawn, the team, you're in almost daily contact with our clients, our planners, our customers. What are some of the key takeaways in these conversations you're having right now? What are you hearing?
Sure. So I think the first thing is we have to give our clients a huge applause right now, because the amount of work that these clients did in pivoting from live meetings to these virtual events in 2020 was not easy for them. And they've just put an immense amount of work in the short term in turning these events around. I would say, though, what we're hearing is that these virtual events, while many of them have seen huge attendance, it is still very hard to engage a virtual audience, especially when you're dealing with education and or a trade show that's a 3, 4, 5-day event. So we're really excited, because what we're hearing from our customers is that the virtual format will continue, but it will be a hybrid or a multi-channel experience in the future. So they're excited about a live event, and that virtual experience will continue as well.
And and again, I think it's important that our audience know this, you're actually currently working on dozens of active bids for the future.
Absolutely.
As well as a full book of business that we have on the schedule next year. But in your bidding process, are there some different ways that you're now starting to experience what the customer is asking for, or how are the bids looking differently moving forward?
Well, what David Causton just mentioned in the safety plan and the GBAC STAR certification is so important for our clients, and we're hearing that over and over again. And the plan that McCormick Place has developed, what we're hearing is that it's the best out of any convention center in the country. So huge kudos to them. You know, the other thing that we are currently developing with our customers and working them through is that an attendance base for especially a short-term meeting in 21 and 22 is not going to look the same as it does now, or it did in 2019. And also that room block. What does that new room block look like with the reduced attendance? So we're proactively right-sizing our groups in 21 and 22, and then as we receive RFPs and we're matching them maybe to past RFPs we received from customers, we're working with them to make sure that we're delivering the correct information to our partners on what that new forecasted budgeted attendance looks like in the short term, and what that new budgeted forecasted room block and total room block looks like for our community.
Well, that's so important for our hotel partners as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the obvious question. What keeps you up at night right now?
Well, David, as you know, I have 2 daughters in college now, so that's what's really keeping me up at night. But, you know, everyone, obviously you and I as the leaders at Choose Chicago, but our entire team takes our job really seriously. And it breaks our heart to see the lack of occupancy, the number of restaurants that are closed, the number of hotels that are closed, although we have nearly 82% of our hotels that are open now. But we want people to get back to work like they were in 2019. And, and I just can't express enough to this audience today how much work we're putting to make sure that's happening. We recently launched our new All in Chicago incentive campaign, which is geared towards short-term meetings starting at 50 rooms on peak that can book and confirm in our city between now and the end of 2023. And we've already generated 104 new leads from that. In addition, I think it's important to say we're really cautiously optimistic on the future in our city and at McCormick Place. There are 144 events currently on the books from January 21st to the end of 2023. And although we've lost some business in 20 and 21, there is still a huge amount of business that we have on the books in our city and at McCormick Place.
No, that's so important to emphasize and to keep in front of us for obvious reasons. One of the things that I'm sure our audience is curious about is the way in which they can, the partner vendors, all of the different folks on this call today, a lot of small meeting planners, special event planners, who not only are focusing on the activity at McCormick Place, but also those off-property, those private receptions, those events that are in the museums, venues, special event halls, et cetera. What should some of our partners on the call today be doing to make sure that they're part of the education so that planners know that when they meet and convene in Chicago, they're doing so responsibly and safely?
Definitely go to our website, choosechicago.com /all-in-Chicago. It's the URL that we have created for customers talking about the safety and sanitary and reopening guidelines for our city and our state, as well as the All in Chicago initiatives. But you'll also get to see what other partners are doing to be proactive in expressing the safety and sanitary guidelines that they've put in place. So if you're struggling, if you're a small business, and you kind of are, I don't know what to do, well, there's a resource for our company that we can allow you what other partners are doing. Even McCormick Place, go to McCormickPlace.com, as David Causton mentioned, and look at their executive summary plan. It can help you guide you for what your future plan should look like.
Well, I think the most important thing is that you need to have a plan.
Absolutely.
And we need to share those plans with our customers. David, I'm going to come back to you. Many on the webinar today are involved, as I just discussed, with vendors and partners, and they're just as impacted by activities. When major conventions and shows convene here, especially those at McCormick Place, what would be the most important advice you'd give for those of us on the call today?
David, I think it's been overused that we say that we're all in this together, but I think one thing that we've learned in the face-to-face convention meeting business is that we're all interrelated. Everything that we do relies on everybody else. So as Marc just said, I think it's important that each of us look at what our responsibilities are. What are we doing to make sure that when we get that green light, we move with rapid speed to bring events and conventions, trade shows, corporate events, and other special event activity back to the destination and certainly back to McCormick Place. I know that we're doing our part. I know that everyone else should be working on their part. We need to remain flexible. We need to understand that there's going to be further changes down the road as we get ready to produce events again. But I'm excited that I think we've laid a very good foundation. We're here as a resource, as Marc mentioned. If in fact there are questions that individual vendors have, if there are things they want to know that they should be thinking about or what we're doing together, let us know. Give us a call. We're happy to have those discussions.
Marc, any final thoughts you'd love to share with the colleagues on the call today?
I think what David mentioned, flexibility is key to not only our partner success, McCormick Place success, but also our clients' success as well. Things are going to look different as we move forward. And we can't think that what happened in 2015, 16, 17 is going to be the same in 21 and beyond. So I would just really encourage our partners to have those collaborative discussions with our customers and how, we can best bring that business to our city to help our economy, but also how we can help them as their events look different in the future.
Well, there's undoubtedly great potential. You've talked about the active bids, the business that's on the books next year. We're also anxious to get back at it. Using this time to properly plan and then communicate that plan is just going to be so vitally important. clearly. You know, one ray of hope for those on the call today, each week we get our STR reports. And last week we got the reports that covered Labor Day weekend. 46% occupancy on that Saturday night of Labor Day weekend. Nowhere near where we want to be, still averaging just under 30% for the week. But it just shows the potential of getting back out there, getting back into our hotels, getting back into our convention centers, and why this is so vitally important. As Glenn started this conference off today, this call, just the economic impact that is McCormick Place. It's our McCormick Place, it's for this entire community, and we all play a major role in helping fill it and serve it again. So I want to thank both of you for being on the call today. Glenn, thank you for your leadership. Again, Tim and the team at Atima, we look forward to the rest of the week with all the panels, over 20 different webinars and panels upcoming in the week. We look forward to collaborating with you. And for those of you who joined us today, thank you for being all in and being part of the Chicago industry that helps us be number one and helps us continue to make sure that we're planning and preparing to welcome people back, especially our convention delegates, and welcome them back responsibly and be prepared for the future. So again, thank you, our very best wishes, and have a great week, Tim. Thank you, everyone. Mark, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.